everyone. So nice to see so many friendly, smiling faces. My name is Justin Seidenfeld. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Doris Dev. We're a product development service business. That means we help design and manufacture physical products in the real world. We are based in New York with an office in Hong Kong. We've also incubated some interesting things, including Canopy, which is a beauty and wellness brand, which has a really cool humidifier that's focused on skin health. And really excited today to have this panel of amazing founders and leaders of physical product brands to help share their stories about bringing physical goods into the world. And some of the complexities of dealing with real-world supply chains. So I'm going to kick it off with intros down the line. We'd love to hear a little bit about who you are, what your brand is, where you are with your product journeys, and favorite things around your product and or features of product that you've brought to the world.
Big list.
Yeah. Sam, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, everyone. I'm Sam. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Flaus, the world's first electric flosser. We are an oral beauty brand looking to make flossing as accessible and easy to do as brushing your teeth. Inspired by a painful and expensive trip to the dentist where I was lying about my flossing habits. At the time, I was an M&A attorney, and now I'm in oral care. So total 180. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. We have launched our first product, got out to market, had a really successful Indiegogo campaign, have been collecting tons of user feedback, and now we are actually in our manufacturing process of Flaus 2 with Doris Dev, which is going to be hitting the market this October. So we're really excited. It's an amazing product with amazing feedback, and I think one of the best features of Flaus is how it's helping people take care of themselves. I started Flaus as a non-flosser. But what we've actually found is that we have a huge target audience of people who suffer from physical impairments that lead to dexterity impairments. So anyone who has arthritis, carpal tunnel, cerebral palsy, they are unable to handle the small string floss picks and floss strings. So being able to help people take care of themselves has just been an amazingly rewarding part of the journey.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Jeremy, co-founder and CEO of Fable Pets, where we call ourselves a product innovation studio for the pet category. We make everything for daily essentials for people who live with pets and love them, except food. So we've been working with Doris Dev since very early on. And I would say you asked our proudest product?
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of all the products.
Yeah.
Don't bring anything I'm not proud of to market. I think the puzzle feeder game that we sell is what I think is sort of our pinnacle of product development. But I think all our hero products are pretty exceptional, especially in the pet category.
How many pets do you have?
How many pets do I personally?
Yeah.
I live with one dog.
One dog.
Good answer.
Hey everyone, I'm Suze. I'm co-founder and chief business officer of Pattern Brands. So we are a family of brands focused on the home and specifically enjoying daily life in the home. So for us, it's about those little micro moments of your day and how can we make them just a little bit better. We have 6 brands in the family currently, one of which we actually incubated, and Doris Dev was a partner from day 0, and then 5 which have come to us via acquisition. And so it's been a pretty fun journey so far. And I'm excited to talk about lots of product things.
Can you answer which one's your favorite? Or you love all your children equally?
All of my children are my favorite. Well, I think there's one of the products we're most well known for is our open spaces entryway rack, which we had to really fight to bring to market because it wasn't something that consumers in early testing were really resonating with. And now it's like the hero product of that brand. So I think it shows you to like stick by your guns sometimes and say consumer feedback is very important, but if you believe in it, go after it. So it has a special spot in my heart. That and our spoonula. I've become known as Spoonula Suze. Combination of a spatula and spoon in one. Everyone needs one. Hit me up if you don't have one. We'll get you hooked up.
Future TED Talk.
Well, nice to meet everyone. I'll start with a quick disclaimer. I have a 2-week-old at home, so my brain is like, I'm just happy to be here and not here. Baby shark. I've got underneath a 2-year-old, so there's a lot of children noises in my head, and I'm just excited to be able to talk to other founders and brands to think through challenges that we're all thinking through. So, thanks for having me. My name is Russ. I'm the co-founder and president of Cabinet Health. Cabinet Health is a sustainable healthcare brand that's brought to market the world's first refillable and compostable medicine system. We're tackling a really large problem when it comes to plastic waste. I know a lot of brands here are also really passionate about that. But when it comes to medicine, there are 190 billion single-use plastic medicine bottles created every single year, and a small portion of them are recycled. Danielle, who's a good friend, will be speaking today too about Grove. What's crazy, though, is the plastic industry has really no innovation when it comes to creating sustainable healthcare brands. So while every other category has made significant movement, we've given a pass to healthcare. And so my co-founder and I, he's a third-generation pharmaceutical entrepreneur. I started my work in policy, environmental policy, created Cabinet Health to build a sustainable healthcare brand that, one, brings to market over-the-counter medicines, supplements, and prescriptions sold in the refillable system that we make, but also to catalyze within the larger industry. So we have a white label service that helps big pharma transition their plastic bottles to also plastic-free and sustainable products. Since we're around friendly startup friends, we have about 700,000 customers. We sell direct-to-consumer. Amazon just launched CVS this week, so got a couple babies in my head right now. And we're launching other retailers later this year. We closed around about 17 million to scale in retail, as well as launch prescriptions, and are bringing sustainable products to larger healthcare systems too. So when Justin asked me to be here, I'm just excited to be able to learn from the panelists and talk about the mistakes that we've made or the things that have been really exciting. Nice to meet you guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to kick things off. Thanks for the intros. I'm going to start with the first prompt, actually, before we dove into product development and the work and the efforts to get things into market. Curious to hear about the journeys of validating your product ideas before they were in market. What did that look like?
I can go first. So we previously had a brand and digital agency, so we were very much thinking about software development and took a smoke testing approach to validating a lot of our early products. So essentially that would be where we would create a fake brand. So in the case of Open Spaces, it was called Of Space and Time. And we'd put up a landing page, would make it look real enough, and do some early kind of paid testing against it, where we'd be looking at product categories, some of the mocks for products, seeing A/B testing, what would people pay for something. So we coupled that with a lot of consumer focus groups to really try and make sure we were kind of bringing in that knowledge. We always say, let's create something that's direct with consumer, and I think that goes beyond just the way you're approaching sales. It really is creating your product, with them so that you're serving their needs.
Amazing. Were there specific benchmarks that you were looking to overcome, or it was really kind of general traction?
I think, there was certain things from if we hit this on a wait list, we can see, let's look at the conversion for email signups for a wait list. Let's look at if we think we could scale paid marketing. To be honest, I think we've gotten a lot more sophisticated about that as we've gone through the last couple of years of building, and now we have very much, here are the benchmarks based on actual data that we have from products in market, and here's what they would need to beat. Back in the early days, it was a little bit where, I think we would have said, yeah, we're so buttoned up, but it was probably hit and miss in terms of true benchmarks.
I know for us, at least at Flaus, creating something that's wanted by customers is our number one goal. We are so customer centric, constantly surveying and talking to customers. I probably talk to 5 to 10 customers a week on Zoom, which is can be very interesting phone calls. One lady was introducing me to her 9 dogs last week, and she's naming one of them Flossie.
Wow. Flaus for dogs?
Yeah, exactly. A whole
Some of
mark
my
right there.
favorite pets, yeah.
But at the very beginning, when I first came up with the idea for Flaus, I actually went to SurveyMonkey, like TBT. SurveyMonkey, I paid $1,500 for a survey that blasted out to 600 respondents. And I just asked them like all about their consumer behavior with flossing. What do they like? What don't they like? When are they doing it? And then asking them questions about the product. And that was the first time I had validation. And I made sure to do that before I put a single dollar into the business. And then throughout the whole production cycle is going and getting it in as many mouths and hands as possible and trying to do interviews, surveys, customer feedback loops, anything we can to keep bringing it through. And also really trying to, at one point we brought in some like a professional customer researcher, because when you're so close to the product, it sometimes can be hard to see it, the feedback as objectively as you need to see it.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more. Like, I think so much of this is people sometimes hold it so close to the chest and want to have it like a big ta-da moment. And you shouldn't be doing that with product development. I think you should be getting out there early and often and really looking at, how you can get that feedback in, knowing that what they're seeing is raw.
And I don't know about you guys, did you guys all have like a fear that someone was gonna like steal your idea when you started to go out and tell people about it?
Yeah, I think that's totally natural. And I think when Justin, to your question about how did you first understand customer validation before bringing the business, I think there's all these very clever tactics. I think one perspective I'll bring is coming not from a business background and not from a product background. What was actually most important for us was understanding what is the actual social challenge that we would solve for. And I kind of bring that to the perspective of brands where if you have a really well-measured social problem, whether that's environmental degradation or social equity, and that is clearly something to solve for, consumers will find a way, or there'll be a way to translate that into a business model. And so the tactics are really critical. I think one thing that was a big breakthrough moment for us is really being able to quantify the issue and how much does that social issue resonate with customers. And then we try our best to add and iterate and translate that to how do they pay money to solve it.
I think it's not just social issues as well. It's just the issue, like what are the friction points for a customer and how can you solve them? And we spent a lot of time using competitor products. Part of our thesis was our products don't exist. There's not premium, well-made, thoughtful products in the pet category.
Totally.
It's very limited. And so, but prior to coming to market, we bought every product at every price point. We tried them all. And found them lacking for whatever reason. And I think what you said earlier is also apt, which is at some point you have to have the courage of your convictions and the confidence that you understand the customer, and you do need a rational viewpoint and metrics to guide your decision making, but you also have to really know what you're doing and
So that's the thing. I'm like,
solve problems.
And if you're going to be putting your heart, soul, every fiber of your being into this, you have to so wholeheartedly believe in this. And again, couple that with the consumer data, because we are huge fans of that. But ultimately, this is your baby, and if you believe in it, take that step.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, this is your baby for sure. I think we see a lot of founders have that sentiment. I want to jump into actually bringing product to market. And for each of you, you've brought physical goods into the real world. There's constraints around actually doing that other companies or startups might not face. And there's an old saying where you can pick, there's 3 things you can pick: quality, speed, or cost, and you can only choose 2. In our experience, I'm going to replace quality with essentially product experience. And I would love to hear how you guys balance product experience, cost, and speed as the founders or leaders of your respective brands and making decisions and bringing those products to market.
I gotta get my notebook because I want to hear your answers.
I mean, most people operating under the constraints of a small business or like a startup have no choice but to work within a budget. You can blow up the business if you don't.
Sure.
So you really have 2 variables that you can work with, which is the speed and the customer experience. I think in my personal experience, it's not worth sacrificing customer experience
Yeah.
for a milestone, then you can't get that back. You're going to spend a lot of money no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And the customer experience comes first. And you got to whip people and get them
I think
working
to
as
Jeremy's,
fast as possible. Sorry, go ahead.
I could not agree more with Jeremy's point, because speed is, and it's kind of to your point, Sam, of like wanting to beat competition, and you're hungry, you want to get it out before someone else has that idea. But I think it's short-term speed, and then to Jeremy's point, if you don't do it right, you're just going to be catching up, and you're trying to make up for whatever mistake or adjustment that you needed to do, where product doesn't have the ability to be iterative.
I
As
completely
iterative.
agree, because I think it's almost very short-term thinking if you're just optimizing for speed. And it's not to say that you don't need to capitalize on the opportunity in market, you do. But I think you're going to spend a lot more money and take a lot more time if you put something out in market that isn't a solid experience, or that you need to rework. And I say that as a person that is like, had to do both, because we've made some of those mistakes, and it's cost us both money and time.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us, we always say constraints breed creativity, and so I'm such a believer that there is always a solution where you can kind of tackle each, and it's really about getting the stakeholders in the room and saying, okay, how do we make this happen, and what does this need to look like? Especially with physical products, you've got, okay, what's my R&D expense, what's my tooling, what's my molds, et cetera. But also I think on cost, it's very important from the outset to be very, very clear on your target MSRP and then your target kind of COGS within that, and really have foresight over your sales channels.
Yeah.
Because this is where, we, for some of our products initially, we're just gonna be so D2C, we're so D2C, that we created, gross margins that worked on D2C. What we hadn't thought about was, as we scaled, wholesale would become a much bigger part of our business. And today, in terms of our portfolio, we're probably 70% D2C, and then 30%, big chunk of that is wholesale. So I think just being really, really clear on those parameters. But again, that consumer experience needs to be number one.
That's very top of mind for us too. So Suze's point around, because when you ask the question, I think there's the founder mindset of like, as a leader, how do, on a daily basis, you kind of think through those elements. But so much of the business and the growth of the business will be determined off of the sales channel. And they're going to tell you the speed, the cost, and to some degree, how it will work on shelf. And so I think having CVS, which has been a great partner, been a recent launch partner, that determines so much of your project plan. So as you think about particularly the large investments of growth, making sure you have the right team and mindset that evaluate that, those sales channels determine it. I will add though, I think there's so much innovation to the constraints. There's also a lot of value though for as founders, you kind of have a fun product that just lets you explore a bit, where if your budget allows, that just lets you be like, I started this company because I care about X. And sometimes when we are listening to where our growth channels are going, you don't get to have a product that you really like, wow, that's actually what I wanted. And it's a wandering process. I have this one product that we've been trying to develop for probably a year and a half. It's like the simplest little travel tin. And it's using a little bit of budget, but it's helping me think through, how do I think about experiences differently or upsells and stuff. And so I just add, having some exploration around product too is fun.
I think it's also different by product, so you always have to be thinking about the ROI that you're going to get on the product and what the TAM is by product. And some products just you can sprint at. There's less innovation, less step change, and so we have a portfolio. We think of the tentpole hero products, and those you do not want to mess up. You want to make sure that you're investing at the front end. And
have you ever encountered any friction from either external kind of investors or other members of team to, as you navigated that calculus?
Yours in particular.
Of just wandering around with products?
Wandering around with products, but also the speed, right? The actual time to market.
It's all friction.
Well, for us, we have really mission-driven investors and partners. So there's a lot of, the focus is, are you contributing to the mission? Are you eliminating single-use plastic? However that might be. That might be cabinet brand, it might be a prescription line, it might be even helping other brands do it. So there's less of that. I think the pressure is always kind of like, okay, when does this become a sustainable ROI? And so that can come from, your team where they're like, why are we doing that, Russ? But I think, again, it's like just making sure your major projects are bringing the revenue, keeping the lights on, and there's room for innovation.
I mean, I think it's all about looking at opportunity cost, right? Because ultimately you've got a target launch and market date, and that's probably driven by something. It's because you want to launch it on a new channel, or you think it's going to be accretive revenue, or you're launching something for the first time and have people that you want to, just get started with. Yeah. And I think it's really about just assessing what is the opportunity cost of, rushing things or, pushing the dates out.
I wanted to ask, so each of you have direct experience going from 0 to 1 with a new product in market, and then post go-to-market, what that looked like. What was an oh shit moment that you each experienced? And that could be bad or that could be good. And what we've seen on the Doris Dev side is that with physical product, nothing goes according to plan. There's always probably many oh shit moments. And just curious to hear what some of those anecdotes are.
I have a couple that came to mind. So I'm in consumer electronic hardware, which is a whole beast of its own. And with us, what happened was we were we had a PO of about 10,000 units go out, and we did quality check through Factored Quality, actually, which is amazing. I highly recommend them. And they found some defective units. We moved them off the line, and we're like, okay, we're good to go. So we ship out these units, and they arrive, and we ship them then out to customers. And what we then learned was that there was a hairline fracture going up through the neck of the device that would only become apparent as it was jostled through shipping. So customers would literally open up their box, and we have this really beautiful unboxing experience, and like the entire head was decapitated from the device. And we were like, oh my gosh. And you could not see it visually. Like when we were doing the quality control checks, you can't see it at all. And so we had over 20% of our inventory have that crack. So fully defective, what is otherwise known as a, quote, catastrophic failure. And so what we did is, and I feel like I've seen so much benefit from this already, is heavily investing in customer service. Like what you can do to show up for those customers that are having that bad experience can make them lifetime advocates. And honestly, we view our customer service as like a sales retention force. Like they stop refunds, they help them get a new item. We make sure it's all into our ROI, like how many replacements can we do before we're like, let's just refund. But I would say that was a big oh shit moment.
I had a very similar experience from a customer service side. I think for me, one of the first oh shit moments that was the beginning of many, but certainly stands out in my mind, is for Open Spaces, which is our home organization line. One of the products we launched with was our underbed storage. Version 1 of this was the most beautiful looking item you could see. Didn't like fold down. It was like, all constructed hard felt. The lid was beautiful. Problem was we'd really focused on the aesthetics over thinking about A, can this make us money? And B, does this actually work and function? And that the lid kept on popping off. So problem there is you basically have people battling with their underbed storage to try and get the lid on. And not to mention with, basically being bleeding money on inbound shipping, outbound shipping. I now understand like why people really think about like dimensions and can this fold down? And so we launched it to market, sold out in like a day because it really resonated with consumers. And then, of course, we started really realizing that all of these problems that we had kind of just told ourselves naively would be fixed in mass production, like were not fixed and were very real issues. Had to basically pause selling that line. We had a number of items that were on order that we ate the cost of, and then come out with the Generation 2, which took us nearly a year. And so I think that's a great example of just, you need to be really, really confident before something goes into mass production. And really also know your gross margins.
Absolutely.
I'll do one, but it's self-serving. So one of the things we're well known for is a crate, which is a furniture, looks like an end table, and also is a dog crate. But when we originally received the the sample product that we were going to bring to the photo shoot to set up the PDP and the product page. We just weren't sure if it really looked like a full-fledged brand would have made it. It was furniture and it was made out of wood and it was imperfect. And my co-founder was like, let's just kill this. It's too risky. They're expensive, and we already had it. So it's a pain to bring to the photo studio. And so I was like, let's just bring it and have the photo taken, and let's take it from there. And that blew the company up. Like that product we can't keep in stock. Yeah, blew it up well. We weren't sure about it at all, but oh shit, it's pretty good.
That's great.
Awesome.
It's a good oh shit.
That's awesome. That reminds me of a story. I think when you ask the question, oh shit, I think like people can probably appreciate this, but physical product companies is like a constant, like, it's maybe less oh shit, it's more like well shit, like, and you just constantly have to deal with like, oh well shit, let's go figure that shit out. Right? So it's just like
5 times a day.
Yeah. If it's an oh shit, you're probably learning or there's something barely bad, but you'll figure it out. It's more like a constant like, yeah, what's up? Well shit, let's figure that out. And I think we've had a couple of those when we aired on Shark Tank, and we just we wanted to understand like what the demand was. We didn't really want to rush to product. I think that was like, oh well, shit, let's figure this out and catch up. And we've had a lot of the broken products at points. I think one of the ones that Jeremy, you remind me of was like, we were interested by making personalized cabinet bottles. Like our customers have a little snap lid that like snaps on, so you could use your refillable compostable pouches. And I was like over caffeinated, like I am now, and I was like, why don't we like laser engrave our names and people can have their own personal bottle? So we're like, yeah, well, how do we figure this out? We spent too much money on a laser jet printer, and then we printed these engraved tokens on them for a couple of them, and did a landing page of like non-laser personalized and laser personalized, and it blew up our CAC it drastically reduced our CAC and had people switching their prescriptions almost like overnight. And we had a well shit moment where we're like, I didn't think that product would really be able to drive that, and we didn't really do any planning around it. But it's something that, again, continually reminds me, if you just get closer to what people want, like an end table like that, you can have some pretty good oh shit moments.
They're all learning moments. Awesome. Before we wrap up, I think we're coming up on time. Last thing is, where can we find your brand in the real world, whether it's online or in store? Just really quickly down the line, and we'll wrap up.
CabinetHealth.com, CVS is now, thank God, and then Amazon as well.
PatternBrands.com, or if you want to sell to us and be acquired by us, hit us up on JimLane.com.
FablePets.com and Chewy, Petco, wherever fine pet products are sold.
You can find Flaus at goflaus.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.